Good afternoon, everyone. Denise, as you're there first, can you hear me? Give me a wave if you can hear me. Hi, Temmie. So welcome to the first in the series of WYRD Wednesdays. Talking about Dean's website there. Welcome to WYRD Wednesdays, the very first in the series. I'm really excited for this new series. I'm going to be talking to some really seriously talented people who I've met along my journey in my career over, nearly 20 years. And they're going to be coming on every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. I've got lots of really cool people ready to go. We've got Sam from Key Kefir who's going to come on. I've got some great farmers, some really intuitive, talented people who are going to share their words of wisdom and their journey and their path. So I'm really excited for it. I hope you enjoy it. Please do feel free to leave a question in the comments. Absolutely, I'll try and get them all answered. And on my website, you're going to be able to see the lineup of people that we're going to be chatting to. So do feel free to DM ahead of the dates with any questions that you may have as well. So whilst we're waiting for Dean to come jump on, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Dean. So Dean used to be referred to as the soul whisperer, and I would say that he's one of the most intuitive people I think I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Really deep intuitive skills. I would love to ask him how we all get better at being intuitive, or lots of us are to certain degrees, we know that. And he helps people through empowerment upgrade their lives in a way. So find the things that are holding them back, whether that is their health, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, success, career. You can think about anything that you feel stuck in. Dean finds a way to help you change your mindset, or think about how your mindset is leading you to have those sets of beliefs, and helps you to change them going forward. So whilst Dean works online, he's also a sort of a rehabilitation therapist as well, so helps people with physical pain, and spent a lot of time studying with the Czech Institute, helping people to get out of physical pain, which is also a lot of the time related to emotional pain. And the job is to find out where this emotional or physical, but where this pain originates from. Where is the etiology of this pain? So I'm just going to double check back with Dean where he is. If you guys have got any questions, do feel free to put them in the comment sections. I'm not going to be able to get to any messages whilst we're on, but do feel free to put them in the comments. Hi, Mary. Thanks everyone for joining us. We are starting today with the first in the series of WYRD Wednesdays. And WYRD Wednesdays has come about because I realised that I had a huge collective of people that I've either worked with, or worked alongside, or met on all these courses that I've done and been on, that I really wanted to share with you. And what better way than to have a conversation about what it is that they do, why they got here, how they got here, and how these people can help you as well, my followers who listen to my channel. So we are just waiting for Dean. Give me 1 second. Joining us in a minute. So just some food for thought to start off with. Because today we're going to be talking to Dean about how you can be the hero in your life and not play the victim. And there he is. He's just going to join in a minute. So what might be helpful for all of you listening, and if you want to take part in this, is to just think about what are the things that are currently holding you back. What areas of your life? Is that health? Is that finance? Is that career? Is it love? Is it relationships? Where are you feeling a little bit held back? And then will hopefully make sense and you'll get a lot out of it. So here's Dean coming on now. Hello, Dean. How are you?
Hello.
Lovely to see you.
And you? How are you?
Very well, very well. Loved the snow this morning. Little treat.
Yeah, even in North London we had nice snow as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They scattered it on the northerners.
They didn't. Yeah, the Northerners. Yeah, exactly.
Mustn't leave you out. Wonderful. So I was just saying that here we are today. We are talking about mindset, and maybe we don't really know what that means. But we're also going to be talking about how we can find ourselves to be the main player in our story that we're creating in our life, the hero. You know, I often hear, Dean, people say, who's your hero, you know, to athletes or to people who've done really well. The interview will always say, who's your hero? And I always think, you. We should be our own hero, shouldn't we, you know? And actually some people do answer it that way. But we want to be our own hero. And I think that a lot of us play the victim without even knowing it. And I think that's the point. So let's just kick off straight away. There are lots of mindsets we can have, and I've just got a few here. And I'm just going to read a few of these mindsets out, and can you just pick one or a couple and explain it to us? So sure. We can have a mindset, can't we, which is victim versus being accountable. We can be yes versus no, it's an easy one. Reactive versus proactive. Fearful versus fearless, avoidance versus facing reality, and victim and accountable. So can you explain what those mindsets or one of them means to you?
Well, actually there's two that jumped out at me. Obviously the victim one, because it's very relevant for our talk, but actually also the accountability one, because often it's easy to not accept things for what they are. Sometimes we want to see the world a certain way, or we want to see certain people. So our parents, you know, go back to what you're saying about role models. It's good to have role models to a certain degree. It's knowing, like I said, that we are also our own role model in life as well. So it's always saying, am I putting myself first, or am I putting other people first? So relationship is a classic example of this. Most people will put their partners and their children first, women more so than men. So this is where we then become the victim, because when the other person doesn't meet our needs, then we start blaming them, saying, well, look, I'm doing this for you. Why are you not doing this for me? That creates a victim kind of mentality. When you say, actually, no, if I put my needs first and then I give to my partner, to my children, to my family, to whoever else in my life, now when I'm giving, I'm giving from a different place. I'm not giving with an expectation of receiving something back in return. So for me, that works in both with the accountability, but also with the victim as well. Because for our brains, it's easier for us to be a victim than it is to be the hero, because our brains are more focused on safety and security. So go ahead.
So there might be some people out there going, oh, that's definitely me. That resonates with me. I put my children in front of me. I mean, I put my dog in front of me. I put my husband, my partner, everyone in front of me. Is that because they are avoiding putting themselves first because they're scared of what they might create if they were number one? And how, if that's your sort of default, how do I then put myself in front of all these people without feeling guilty or a bit selfish?
Here's the thing. we're never taught about self-love, about self-worth. So we're taught, most people grew up being taught that you have to make sure that our grandparents, that our parents, our siblings, our friends, family, whoever, we're never taught about looking after ourselves first. So a lot of people actually feel guilty. Women, I found this more with women more so, and again, it's the mindset of feminine to a certain degree, is that for them, it's almost like you have to give to other people first. Whereas for me, it's like, I consider it like a bank account. You can't keep paying out if you don't put money back into your bank account. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that you're filling up your own cup before you give out to other people. So this is really important. But again, I think a lot of this is driven by society because we've been taught that way. And then obviously people have played that role and they feel guilty if they put themselves first. Because they go, well, that's not what you're meant to be doing. But I'm going, but that's the only way it works. You have to give to you first before you give to anybody else.
Somebody's just said, what about the fear of being judged? That's what they're fearful of here, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our judgment, again, as one of my favorite sayings is, what someone else thinks about you is none of your business. But the problem is that most of us, we are so worried about, especially people that we love, people that we admire in some way, we actually feel like, yeah, we need to do the right thing by them. That I would be letting them down if I didn't do this first. But really, it's not. You're letting yourself down. And remember, everything in life starts and ends with you.
Very true, very true. And so, what are the? If people are out there going, God, that's so me. That I do that all the time. I put everyone first. I don't think about myself, and then my default is to blame my world. I definitely used to be in that position. If things didn't go right, I would, my defense, I always used to say, my defense would be to blame. To blame I wasn't in the right place on anything or anyone who walked past, it'd be their fault. But, where can what would be your guidance once we've understood that is something we do? So I recognize it. What is my first step in trying to change that pathway, change that mindset? Because it obviously takes a long time. And if you're not aware of it, you're not aware that you're either going forward or backward, maybe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the first step I do with myself, with every client I work with, you take full ownership of everything in your life.
Full ownership.
Now, when we say taking ownership, most people think, well, that means I've got to blame myself. That means it's my fault. And I said, no. It's not your fault. You're taking ownership of it. When you own something 100%, now you can change it. Yeah. When you give part of that away, so think of a property. If someone owns 20% or 50% of a property that you have, you can't sell that property or rent it out until you've agreed it with the other person. So the same thing with any situation in life. Own it fully. Because once you own it, now you change it. Now it's in your mind. Remember, everything starts and ends in the mind. If you believe it, then you can change it to whatever you want it to believe in the future. So first of all, take ownership of what it is that has happened to you. Take ownership of maybe you feel like being a bad parent by actually putting yourself first. Take ownership of that. Once you've taken ownership, then go, if I was being true to myself, and actually another good way of doing this as well, especially for women, also for parents, here's what you're teaching your children. When you're putting other people first, your children recognize that. They see that because we learn through mimicking. So your children are seeing what you're doing. They're going, well, you're basically saying to them, as you get older, I want you to put other people before yourself. Where if you're going from a mindset of put yourself first, and then once you put yourself first, because you're taking ownership of your life, now you've got so much more to give to other people.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I suppose also by taking that ownership, you just almost immediately feel a bit of relief, bit less stressed, like the weights come off your shoulders because you're owning the problem, the issue, and now we can find a plan and a roadmap or a pathway to start making the changes slowly and incrementally.
Yes and no. For a lot of people, actually taking ownership can be actually quite a burden.
Right.
Because there is that element of blame. It's like, but if this is really my fault, why would I do this? Why would I want to create this kind of situational problem in my life? This is where then also the language is very important. So rather than saying I've got a problem or there was a problem, there was an opportunity. So whenever a client says, this is the problem, I say, no, this is the opportunity. It's an opportunity to help you become a better version, to help other people become a better version of themselves. So really also the language about how you're speaking about what we think is your problem is very, very important. Just not out just in your head, but also to other people. So when you're telling other people, you're saying, I'm doing this for me, because the more that I do this for me, the more I'm doing this then for my family, for my friends, for other people.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And so, can we take another one? Can we take it?
Yeah.
Can we take another mindset? What about fearful and fearless? So, often we hear that we lose that sense of fear as we get to a certain age, 7. And yet there are some people I know probably a few people who are in their 40s who are still fearless. I'm like, did you not lose that sense of being worried or scared, just going straight out and doing it and believing in yourself? I watched a documentary the other day of this guy who was a big YouTuber, and then he became a rapper, and the interviewer said, how do you do it? And he said, I just never had a sense that I couldn't. I've always thought I can do anything I want. And you watch it, going, oh my God, how do you give me some of that? So why are we so fearful of creating something that is a dream, a passion that we're probably very capable of getting? Why are we so fearful these days, Dean?
Well, okay, so there's 2 ways looking at it. First of all, as you mentioned, when we're younger, if you adopt like extreme sports, for example, most of the people who are very successful in that area started when they were very young. So they did it before their brain had developed enough so that actually they didn't have that fear anymore. So it overrode the logical part of the brain. Now, the other part is that each of us are individual energies, and some energies are more prone to wanting to play it safe, whereas others are more likely to take that risk and jump. So you have certain adults, and again, this pattern's not something that we normally kind of don't have and then have. It's normally relevant all through our life. So people like the person that you mentioned, the YouTuber, is probably someone who's already been doing that their whole life anyway, to a certain degree. So there are certain attributes within our personality, within our energy, that make us more likely to take risks compared to other people. But then that comes about how you train your brain, because you can train your brain then to take more risks, to be comfortable with losing without getting it right. But again, that's a process. Some people, that's going to be a lot easier, but for other people, that can be really hard. So again, you've always got to meet people where they're at and say, look, here's where you're at, but also be aware. Remember, fear is our default. We're always on the being alert, ready for whatever may happen in our life. Remember, it's not relevant now for our modern times, but our brain still thinks the same way. So we have to consciously override that. So that kind of mindset is not always easy for a lot of people to change. And that's why you always have to go back and go, okay, if your comfort zone's here, let's start you here. Now, for other people, their comfort zone's way out there, which is fine. The idea is you always got to start where you're at, and then also find what's their level of comfort. Remember, everything comes back to our motivation. You've got to find the reason why you want to change, why you want to do something different. Because if the motivation is not strong enough, we're not willing to do the work. As simple as that. So there's got to be also, when we look at stuff like our love languages or the things that motivate us, we need to understand what is our why in life, what makes us want to do something and not something else. And again, take something simple like weight loss. Yep. So I had a client years ago who wanted to lose weight. Now, she came to me because she had a back injury. So we sorted out her back. And then she wanted to lose weight. And we tried everything. Nothing happened. But then one night she goes out to dinner with her husband and close friends. She wears a top that makes her feel so uncomfortable. Nothing could stop her from losing weight after that. So we never know what the trigger is that's going to be the thing that's going to make someone be motivated enough to go and kind of deal with their health, deal with their relationship problems, whatever it is for them. But it's knowing that we're there to support them and actually understanding that their brain and their whole body works, I suppose, a certain way. And once you understand what is your strengths and what your weaknesses are, then it's easy to know how to kind of navigate that kind of going forward.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, so those two mindsets actually feel like probably we're in both of them at the same time. You know, we're fearful, we're not putting ourselves first, so we play the victim, blame everyone else, and you sort of, you know, feel like you could go around this bit for your whole life, couldn't you? Go around in circles, sort of getting a bit of a high, then a crash, blaming, feeling inadequate. So can you give us some like if that is anyone out there, and I'm sure it's quite a lot of people, and we then go to the gym, don't we? We try and eat better, we maybe take on a therapist, we buy ourselves some new shoes, that's what I might do. We do something to make us happy, but this training the brain, how can I change? What is there a tip, is there an exercise you can share that gives us you know, because the buying the shoes, the going to the gym, that's like the abs, that's like the rectus abdominis. We can just stick them on. It's not lifelong, isn't it? How do we change these pathways to make us believe in ourselves more?
Okay, for me, it comes down to your intentions. So firstly, it's about how you see yourself, first of all. So first of all, you've got to be comfortable with where you are. Most people are looking to change because they're not comfortable where they already are. So for me, the first thing is you've got to be comfortable with where you are. So for example, if you're overweight, love the body that you have right now. Find the things that you enjoy or love about what you have right now. There's always something that you love. And you know, I've done this with many clients over the years. There's always things that you can appreciate and have gratitude for that you have right now in your life. Because if you're trying to escape, then you're always going to come back to where you already are. Right. So it's always starting from a place of actually where I am, I'm content and blessed to be where I am right now. Now it's kind of, okay, most people will either try to make it too, you know, unattainable kind of goals. A lot of people set goals which they're never going to achieve. So make it simple. Make it something that you know that you can achieve. But this then also means be careful about what you expose yourself to. So the people that you spend your time with, the things that you watch online, right? All these things are feeding into our brain. All these things are giving our brains things to kind of help us make our choices from. So again, look at the content that you're watching online, social media, whatever. This all drives our habits and behaviors and how we're thinking. And then you've got to go back to like what we talk about really is our mind and body. How are you looking after your mind and body? For me, so one of the things I talk about, and actually I just put a video out yesterday about this, was about how we manifest. We manifest by receiving. We have to be able to receive whatever's coming to us, but we have to be ready to receive that. We have to be at a certain vibration as such to receive whatever we want in life. So if you want a healthier body, you have to be open to receive that. But if you're neglecting the body that you have right now, you can't receive a better body because it's the same body, just a different vibration as such. So
and
going
that
forward,
comes into that I imagine that comes into, you know, us saying, oh, you know, I have clients that lose 10 kilos, 10 pounds, and they get to this number and they say, that's it for me. I never get past this. I never get past this. And I say, well, you never will with that kind of attitude. But it's this belief that we've set up for ourselves. I'm not capable of doing that. That's not for me. I'm just going to be a bit fat for the rest of my life, or I'm going to be underweight for the rest of my life. That's just my lot. And unless we change that, whether it's, I guess this is what you're saying, whether we change that belief, whether it's through affirmations, so we say it to ourselves every morning, or we surround ourselves with people who are encouraging us and not using those negative terminology or that language, I can't, I won't, I should, I would, all that kind of thing. If we don't do that, then we stay in the same place. So
yeah, remember, it's easier for us to keep doing the same thing than it is to change. And remember, we have a belief system that's keeping us where we are right now. So you have to change your beliefs, which means you have to expose yourself to a different environment than the one that you're in currently. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you can only expect the same result.
Well,
so
we can't
yeah,
heal in the same place that we got sick.
Exactly. Yeah, you know,
and sorry to interrupt, Dean, but just for everyone out there as well. So if we can't heal in the same place we got sick, I always like to think of these little environments. So it's not just that you live in London or that you live in a city. It's the flat you live in. It's the places you go to. It's the friends you keep. It's the sources that you're listening to, like you say, the sort of the podcasts, the Netflix, the videos. It's everything, isn't it? That's the environment. If you keep listening and seeing the same things, then you stay stuck because you don't believe in yourself enough to get out.
Exactly.
So what would be some things that, again, if this is you, what would you be saying to people to get them how do you take the first step to change your environment of your mindset?
You've got to understand why they want to do it. Like I said, if your reason to want to change is not big enough, you're always going to give up at some point.
Right.
So again, this is where actually doing it for someone else can be healthy to a certain degree. Look, the ideal is that you're doing it for yourself. I'm doing it for me. But I'll be honest, that's not enough for a lot of people. So we sometimes have to give them kind of other people or other things that they're motivated for. So maybe we sign them up to run a 5K. Or we sign them up to do something. That's why that series a few years ago got Kwan, where he would get them in front of the mirror, look at themselves, they hate themselves at the start, a full makeover, and then all of a sudden they love themselves, right? So all these kind of things work. So it's finding something that you're willing to do or willing to want to do that will motivate you in some way. Because like I said, motivation is not something that you just switch on and it stays on. You've got to keep doing it. So this is why it's really important, especially with the people that you have around you as well. Because if you've got people, like if you're trying to lose weight, but all your friends like to eat fast food and the wrong kind of foods, it's going to be very hard to do that. And that can be hard for a lot of people, because if you've got friends that you've known for years and years, but they're just not right for the person that you're trying to become, that can be very hard to let them go sometimes. But for me, I've seen this many times with clients over the years, when they let go of, as the saying goes, your net worth is your network, not just in terms of money, but everything, your health. If you have the right people around you, you can achieve almost anything in life that you want to. But again, it's whether you're willing to let go of the people who you don't need in your life. Because what you're doing, so in that case as well, is you're letting go of older versions of yourself that you're holding on to. Because there's older versions of you that keep you in that place, that keep you hanging out with the same people. You've got to say, no, I want to surround myself with people who have achieved what I've achieved. This is how we learn. We don't go to people who haven't achieved what we're looking to achieve in life. We go to people who already have it. So you find those people, whether it's online or in person, that you can kind of spend time with, that you can learn from. Because everything that we're trying to achieve is someone else has already achieved that. We just got to find out who they are.
Right. Gosh, we've all got so much work to do, haven't we?
No, I mean, here's the thing. Let's not make it sound like it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's about being consistent. You have to be consistent with what you're doing. And again, it's being able to dial into the things that motivate you, but also know that you're not going to get it right all the time, that you will mess up from time to time. That's where most people give up. They go, well, look, I haven't stuck to it for 1 week now, so right, obviously it's not going to work for me. No, the idea is we're looking always over time. Look consistently over time what you're doing. Keep to the habits. Even if you have a week or 2 weeks where it doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. Come back to it. The idea is this is where we get back to that kind of victim mindset. It's like, okay, well, actually I was doing it wrong. It wasn't working for me. So maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I'm meant to be overweight. Maybe I'm meant to be unhealthy. Like, no, there's always a reason deep down that you're not willing to recognize a part of you wants this. So remember, the brain doesn't know the difference between the past, present, and future.
Right.
So when we're trying to create something in the future, we have to believe that we are that person already. We can't wait to become that person. We have to believe that we are that person. So one of the things you ask yourself is, how does the version of me that's healthy, slimmer, in better relationships, how do they act? How do they speak? How do they dress? Now what we do, the more that we adopt that kind of mindset and we start living as that person, the easier it is then to create that kind of person into our life. The more it is for us to attract the right people into life. We're more attracted then to the right content because our thinking as if we are that person in the future. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that certainly with weight loss, it's a big one. You're sort of shedding a suit, shedding, a bit like an onion, shedding the old beliefs, shedding what people think of you, shedding how you perceive other people look at you and judge you, and you're walking into a new body And you can only do that if you start seeing yourself as that new body and exactly using different language, having different thoughts. So I definitely see that, especially in my clients that lose, a considerable amount of weight. So what about people who in the health arena who, and I don't mean this badly or derogatively, but there are lots of people that obviously we both come across, and we probably all come across, that sort of like to sort of present themselves with a condition. So they've had a condition for a long time, and it's probably true for sure, but it seems it's all you can see because they talk about it. They can't eat in a certain restaurant because they've got it. They can't stay out late because they've got something wrong with them. And they sort of like to wear the condition or the label on their head and then sort of ask to be compensated for that. Am I making sense? Do you know people like that?
Yeah, I mean, we all have these personas. We all have these identities, because these identities also allow us to be someone different sometimes. So yeah, people say, well, I can't do this because I'm gluten intolerant. I can't do this because I'm ADHD. They use these labels as a way of, I suppose, making excuses for why things didn't work out the way they do, or why they can't live a certain way, or why they can't do this or that. Really, it's, again, the more that you believe something, the more you become it. So the more you believe that gluten, ADHD, or whatever label you're using is who you are, then the more it becomes part of your life. The idea is, you take something like ADHD, because we've got a friend who has ADHD, is actually going, no, this is something that's actually positive. It's not a negative trait.
Right. Okay.
Because it allows, my brain thinks differently to other people. Does that make me different? Well, we're all different. We're all unique in our own way, right? So it's not, I can't use the label as a way of explaining who I am. If I just be myself and express myself, the people who will get me, and the people who don't won't. Yeah. But that's not because I've got this condition or this condition or this label or this persona. The people who are meant to be in my tribe won't question who I am. They won't care what label I have or what label I don't have. They will accept me for who I am.
So that actually just comes back to our mindsets, the people that are labeling themselves with something. It comes back to the inadequacy or the fearful and fearless.
Yes, it's also a way of us not facing our fears, our trauma from the past. We go, it happened because I've got this condition. This is why it happened to me, because of this condition. I go, it's helpful to understand where it may have come from, but that wasn't a bad thing. That was there to help you become a stronger person. If you use it to label yourself as a victim, it doesn't help you. It's great in certain situations, but in terms of you achieving your goals in life, you're always going to be a victim. And I don't know anyone successful who's done well or created that by being a victim. Most have done it by being, actually, no, I've used this as a stepping stone to get to where I want to.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, it's sort of, life is just one big therapy, isn't it? Of understanding, relearning, learning more, putting it into practice, forgetting it, having to do it again. But that's the journey of life. I mean, one of the things, you always say is, you are the creator of your own journey, and what is happening it's happening at the right time in the most perfect way for you to either learn something from or to move forward, but certainly not to see as a block and move back or stay in the same place because it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, as I say to my clients, look, nothing in life happens for no reason. Everything is happening for your greatest good. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, this is why the ownership is so important. Even the things that we can't explain, we don't really understand why it happened, and we don't even like why it happened. But if we can go, if this was helping me in some way to become a better version of myself, how could I use that to empower me rather than disempower me? But again, because it's easy to become the victim than to be the hero, it does take time, it does take work. But again, if you put the time and effort in, yeah, I mean, as you've seen yourself, and for me, the clients I would, I've seen such big changes. Sometimes actually over a very short kind of amount of time. So it's really comes down to is you've got to shift your thinking, the words that you're using. So like, when I wake up in the morning, the first words I'm using is, "Wow, what an amazing day it's going to be today."
Yeah.
Now, if it's a Monday morning, you go, "Oh my God, it's Monday morning. It's going to be horrible." We already know where your day is starting from, right? And when I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking about what it is that I'm trying to create. So as we drop off into sleep, we're dropping into theta mode in our brain, which is where we're learning. When we first took on all these beliefs on age 0 to 7, we're mainly in that mode in our mind. So when you're dropping off asleep and you're talking to yourself in a certain way, your brain, your subconscious mind is taking all that information in. So if you're talking positively to yourself as you go to sleep, tomorrow's going to be an amazing day. Tomorrow, I'm going to eat only the best foods. My body's going to feel amazing tomorrow. If you're speaking in that way as you're going to sleep, when you wake up the next morning, you then repeat that again. You're more likely then to repeat that over and over again the more that you do it.
It makes absolute sense. One of the things I always learned, I'm sure it was from some wise woman in her 90s who said, never go to sleep on an argument.
Yes.
Whatever has happened in the day, forgive and make up, because sleep is nourishing and you can't be going to bed with all those negative thoughts. So
yeah, which is why it's also like the gratitude as well is important.
She was asked how her and her husband had such a happy life together, and she said, never go to sleep on an argument. That is the formula for a happy relationship.
Yeah, in relationship, it's so important. Whatever's unresolved, resolve it before you go to sleep. Yeah. Because remember, it's playing in our brain anyway. Our brain is trying to process it in some way or another anyway while we're sleeping. So I'd rather get it out. Even another way, if you're single and you're trying to process stuff that you've been going through, write it all down. Because you're taking it out from your head and you're putting it somewhere. You're shifting the energy of whatever your thoughts are, and you're putting it somewhere now that your brain sees it differently. So writing down things before you go to sleep or when you wake up in the morning is also another healthy way of doing that.
Perfect. I call that, and you probably do the same, emptying the bone. So yeah. I will say empty. Or a nice little exercise is, I sit with my clients, I say, right, for 3 minutes, we're going to worry about everything we possibly can worry about, and we're going to write all of them down. I said, I'm not checking your grammar, I'm not looking at your handwriting, just blurge it all out on the page and go. Yeah. And then I say, now let's move on, because all those worries are finished. We can take them up another time, but now we've got a clear bone, and we can start thinking about things in a different way without all those worries. Dean, we could talk for hours, and I could have you here. I mean, for all the viewers that have never met Dean before, he is just the most intuitive person. I was going to have a question, where did you go to intuitive school? But I guess, the moment that we start putting ourselves first, the moment that we start believing that we are the hero or heroine of our own story, the moment that we start surrounding ourselves with people who are positive energy, positive words, positive influences, the moment we start changing our environments to be creating the journey that we want to go on, then we're truly happy, and we can create everything and anything we want to. And that's the moment that we become more intuitive with ourselves, so we make better decisions, and we consider the way we move and the way we talk and the way we think more. And naturally you become more intuitive the more honest you are with yourself.
Yeah, I think that's what intuition really is. It's being able to be honest with yourself. And when you can be honest with yourself, then you can be honest with other people. So I share insights where my clients go, wow, how do you pick up? And I said, I'm just feeling something. It feels right to me. I'm sharing it because it feels right to me. If we start to do that more with ourselves, we probably wouldn't create as many problems as we do in life. Because we start listening to that wisdom internally and going, I don't need to eat that food. I don't need to do that thing. That doesn't even feel right to me. Why am I doing it for? But because, again, going back to what I was saying earlier about being exposed to so much information is we don't take the time just to listen, to slow down, to listen to that voice internally, to even trust it sometimes. Sometimes it will give us great insights, but we don't follow through with it. Yeah. That, again, that's a process. I've done it for many, many years. And for me, it's become like, in a sense, my gift that I use, but we all have access to it. But again, you've got to be willing to be honest with yourself and to look at yourself in the mirror and see what you like, but also see what you don't like. It's about accepting yourself for who you are, really.
Yeah, very true. So, Dean, my final question to you, seeing as this is the gut clinic and it's all about nutrition, but nutrition branches out. It's all about emotions and our physical body, our mental body, and our spiritual body. So, if I was to send you off to your very own eco health commune, that you can only take one food and one liquid with you, what would they be?
Oh, one food. Okay. So for me, one of the most important things that I have every day is my probiotics. So I'm going to take this in liquid. I'm going to take a kombucha.
Ooh.
Right now, because food has got to be something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Now, I used to be, and I probably still am to a certain degree. This is where, like, it's about balance. Everything for me in life is about balance. So what food am I going to take? Cheesecake.
Yes. Oh, did you study with the Czech Institute? Because every Czechie I know is a huge cheesecake fan. Wow.
No, yeah, I mean, it has always been one of my favorite foods. So yeah, I mean, again, it's not saying that we can't have these things. It's all about balance. So for me, yeah, cheesecake and kombucha. What a nice balance.
I love it. So you've got the friendly bacteria fizzing up, and you've got the protein from the cheese, the fat from the cheese, carbohydrate from the biscuit. Maybe there's a berry on there, a bit of antioxidants.
Exactly.
I mean, basically what we're saying, what we're saying is that cheesecake is a superfood.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I'm going to come to your health commune, kombucha and cheesecake.
Exactly.
Dean, just tell us how we can find you and how people can reach out to you.
Yeah, obviously on Instagram, my handle is My Upgraded Mind, and then my website, deangriffiths.com.
Wonderful. Dean, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're a fountain of knowledge. And I'll be taking you out for lunch soon to shoot your brain even more.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Thanks very much. See you next week, 1 o'clock, where we'll have another conversation.